All right, where are we? We have the Santa Ventura 9-hole cup. That's what we got. That's what we have. Now, these Santa Ventura holes, this is with the new pin placement, new hole locations, featuring new hole locations. I can't remember if we've ever played these before or if this is the first time we've played them. I can't remember. I think it's the first time we've ever played them, to be honest with you. But I could be wrong, and I probably am. Let's look at one of the older ones that they've been in, the Ventura Open, hole number 1. Now, in the past, we'll have to go out. I'm going to play all the holes so we can see where the new pin placements are, but in the past, probably the best way to go at it is just to lay it up. Let me get closer. Is just to get my pin working, is just to lay it up out into this spot and then right at it. It seems to me that in the past there's been a small adjustment, like 5 or 10%, whatever it is. It's not much, and I think it kind of varies with the wind, but there is a slight adjustment to the cup, and it's I think from out here it's like minimum short iron with a 3-power ball. So you can take this as long as you can get out to this spot. You do not, let me repeat, you do not, especially when you get up into the Pro Tours and you're hitting from the Pro Tee, if you ever get on this hole, you do not want to use this island as a launching pad to try and get out here. It very seldom ever goes. I'm not saying it can't go the way you want it to, but it's domed. So if you hit right on the center, you're fine. But if you hit anywhere else on it, it's going to go off in some weird direction. So try not to use that island. The other thing to remember about this hole, if you're trying to lay up right here, is that this hole, especially when you're playing rookie, this hole is like, what, tur 2? It's a low hole. So when you first play this hole, you're only playing it with a couple topspin. So it only takes, like if you've got an extra mile, it only takes like 2 topspin to get right out here to the end. Here's the deal. There is a max overpower hook shot that you can do that comes around, and you're trying to get bounce out here, and then you're trying to get bounce over and end up on the green side. And I've seen some people bring out really big stuff, and I think that maybe with some of the topspin boost balls, some of the bigger power topspin boost balls, if you're trying to come at it, you might be able to just get on the green side. Now, I've tried this before, and I've seen a lot of people try and get over on the green side, and it's one of those deals where it's like a 30-70, like 30% of the time I see them get off where they've got a short chip, and 70% of the time they're in the sand or the rough, or they're in some kind of crap. And when I've taken it, that's about, it may even be worse for me. I may end up actually out here somewhere in the clear, maybe 20% of the time. It's not, but I think there might be a way to actually get on the green in one with some of the newer balls that are out there. That's the whole deal. Somebody on my YouTube channel commented about like playing with the special balls. Here's the deal. Playdemic is a ball manufacturer, and I will tell you that it's not as bad. If I was running the game, you can bet your butt that there would be tons of these holes that if you didn't bring out a special ball, like, you could make it, but it's going to be very difficult unless you have one of the special balls. But when you have them, some of these holes, it changes how you can play them, and you can't go, well, hey, I can hit it right to here and take this shot to get up, and this shot right here, as long as we hit it perfect and we get our wind adjustment right, it's in the hole 50% of the time. But you can bring out a bigger ball and try and get over to here, and you're over 50% of the time. You know, like, which side is, because even if you try and go for it and you end up in the sand or the rough out here, you still have a great shot. All you gotta do is hit it perfect. So, like, which way, risk versus reward? If you've got one of those balls and that ball gives you a leg up, you have to do it, because there's too many people in your bracket that are going to be doing exactly that. And if you don't keep up with them, you're a shot behind. Let's go check it out. Let's just go practice. Practice. Let's practice it. Practice hole number 1. We'll see what the deal is. Now I'm going to attempt to do a real practice where I go out here and I'm not worried about shooting it in the hole, and I'm not worried about doing the thing. And let's really look at our red lines to try and give us all, not just me but you. This is why it's so important to record your own video, so you can go out when you practice, you can maximize your practice time by practicing the shots instead of just taking them. Now eventually you're going to get to the point where you know all the stuff and you're working on the very last part, but you know, at the beginning, don't spend 7 times doing something you could do in 1 round. My opponent goes first. Now you can see where they're out there with a freaking marlin, so it doesn't take a big ball at all. And we'll just take it with a marlin. The only reason you would bring out a bigger ball is if you wanted to take the last shot, if you were in the perfect spot. I think you could probably take the last shot with your wedge. And that's not an inconsiderable, I mean, that is something to consider. We'll take it with a marlin and see where we're at as far as club. Maybe. I want to look at the, let's look at some of the clubs and let's look at some of the balls and see where we're at. And it just seems like, you know, if you look at where the bounces are, you can see where that second bounce is at, where it's just right there, it's just clipping the rough. But if you put curl on it, it's going to bring it over into, it's going to arc across, and over here where you want it to hit, it's going to hit out here in the fairway and then bleed it across. So I'm just wondering if there's enough bounce between the second, and I'm gonna, let's see if we can make that. I'm gonna start 3 rings. I'm gonna take that shot right there, 3 rings off. It's a full shot, and see if we can, if when we put the curl on it, if it brings that bounce back over into this area and we get our second to third bounce and we can get over. Let's try it out. If you're ever practicing and you see your opponent and they're doing stuff like that where they just time out on a shot and they're trying out stuff and looking at stuff, time out. The whole goal, if we're practicing, is that we want to stay out here on the course for as long as possible. See, wouldn't it be nice right here if we were practicing and we could pitch it back out to the fucking fairway and take a shot from out there? Alright, 3 rings off at the red line. 2.2, it's 1.5 per ring. There's 1.5. There's 7, that's 2.2. Max curl. Hitting it perfect. And see if by curling it over we hit the fairway on the second bounce. Nope, it carried. Look at how far it carried. I think there's a shot in there. I think the deal is that what that tells me, I'm kind of encouraged by that, because that kind of lends itself to the way that I like to set up shots. And what you can do is you can pull back from the red line. Let me see if I can make this shot. Okay, from this distance, should be 16 per ring, so it's 2.2 divided by 16 is 1.3 rings, or excuse me, 0.13. We'll do 2. We'll see where that puts us. I like that. That's right on the edge of the cup. Hitting it perfect. It was right on the, it was outside of the cup on the left-hand side, but it was right on the edge outside of the cup on the left-hand side. Excellent. So let me look at that hole. Let's look at that hole. So this is kind of, we have enough room on our red line where our red line was up here that we can pull back from our red line. And I like it when I can set up shots where I run maximum topspin and whatever side spin I'm going to use. And then I pull the ball back to where that topspin works, because there's some shots where you're actually trying to get the maximum run that you can possibly get, and you're not trying to whoa it up so much at the end and trying to get that bounce out here instead of, it looked to me like the bounce was right here. And if we draw the line and we do our arc, that there was a chance that if I brought, like, it was pretty damn close right here in the corner, but that if I brought it over, but what it did was, it did bring it over, but I misjudged, so it brought it here, and the arc was going like this, and it brought it out to here on the arc. I hit somewhere in this area, so if I pulled it back a little bit, so I was at the plus 16, if I pull back to like maybe the plus 10 mark, so that I can line up in that situation where I'm 3 rings off. I like the trajectory as far as like where I was going here, but if I pull back a little, now what'll happen, you got to watch the terrain down here. So as like, let's get a zoom here, see if we can see the tee box. So we're trying to go from the tee box out in this direction, and I gave myself 3 rings of separation right here in this area, trying to make up this distance with my curl, and I think that worked. But where I'm at on this little curvature right here, if I pull back to the plus 10 mark, it'll probably roll me around. I'll either end up going farther that way, or I'll end up coming back inside right here, and I'll have to account for that with the rings. Trying to stay 3 rings off it, but try and get my second bounce so that it's here, because it looked to me like how much that third bounce wanted to go, that I don't have to be like right, I want to be close to the end, but I don't have to be right at the end in order to bridge that. And I want it to bridge that, but then I do want it to whoa up before it gets back here in the rough. And it is uphill here, so it's going to slow down as it goes past the cup. So we have that going for us. But I'm every time, at least the last 5 or 6 times we played this hole, I've been going for the green, just trying to find a way to consistently get to the green. And I've tried a bunch of crap as far as like bigger balls or max overpower hook or doing that, but I'm just going to try and figure out a way to do a blind curl shot to get there. We'll see how it works. All right, I got coffee now. Look at that. That took a millisecond. I just snapped my fingers and coffee appeared. All right, what do we got for hole number 2? What do we have? I've played this course about 1 billion times, because I think it's Santa Ventura in, is it in Tour 2? I think it used to be Tour 2 and 7. Maybe. Santa Ventura. Is it still in Tour 2? Santa Ventura. It used to be Tour 2 and Tour 7 were Santa Ventura. So I've played this a ton from the Pro Tees. And from the Pro Tees, it is a little like that area right there. It's better served with a power 3 ball, and it'll get you right to the spot. And with a power 3 ball, it's just a couple topspin. Couple. You can get to the same spot. Like, I'm not sure as far as like getting on, but this spot right here is money. There is a very good shot from right there, especially if you have perfect all the time. Hole number 2. Hole number 2. All right. You know, I'm not sure. Let's go play it. I like this hole, but I'm not sure where the new tees are. Like, did they put it seems like we played this, and I was disappointed. Because you'd think that like on a hole like this, no, I don't want to play Tour 7. I want to play the Santa Ventura practice. Hole number 2. I have no idea. Now the pin used to be kind of like in the middle of the green. You would have hoped that they'd moved it like either way up towards the top or close down at the bottom where you could actually do a rough bump and change it up a little bit. But it seems to me that they didn't move it very far. They moved it like 2 feet away. Like the greenskeeper was like super distracted and just like dug a hole like 2 feet away. I was on a hole one day. I was on hole number 2 at Meadow Lawn Golf Course in Salem, Oregon. And we just got there. It was fairly early in the morning, and we played there all the time. And the greenskeeper came out and was, there's max, there's min, there's mid. Do I have enough topspin? Is there? Wow, there is enough topspin. I'm in mid club. What is mid club? It's like 1.1, I think. Or I think it's just 1.0. So, let's do this. Let's switch that up for a navigator. Let's switch that up for a quasar. It's 2 rings off. I like that. We should be able to get that right there. And that should be, that should put me, if I'm with a quasar, that should put me maybe more towards max. For sure. For sure. It smells pretty over there. All right, let's try this again. Let's try it again. Let's set it up right now this time. And it seemed like in the past we did plus 10, so there's max. There's min, max, mid. I'm at mid club, even with a quasar. Divided by 4.6 times 5 rings, 5.1. Hitting it perfect. It was 5.06, so I had 5.1. I was with 10%. That was 10% times 4.6 divided by 1, because I think a Grizzly, it's 0.9 at max with a low wind, with a low power ball like that, and I think it's 1.0 per ring. It might be 1.1. I think it's 1.0. Didn't pull enough though. Into hold. We got an idea on that though. That's definitely the way to go out, is the rough bump. And yes, a Grizzly works, but a Goliath you wouldn't have to. Let's go look at that. Now that we know that we can do a rough bump. The only thing you'd have to worry about down there is with the sand, with wind direction. I wasn't really paying attention to where I set it up, so I probably set it up in the wide open area. I have a tendency to try and stay away from shit. But if you're close to that sand and you had to pull over the sand, and a Grizzly's more apt to do that because the rings are so much more accurate, you gotta pull it more. Goliath might work better. And I think you might actually be like pretty close to like dead center mid if you had a Goliath as well. And a 0 power ball. This would be a great place to bring out one of those 0 power, low wind, precision 5700 balls. Alright. Hole number 3. Alright. This hole has changed quite a bit. It still plays the same as far as like around the corner and stuff, but this, all of this shit, like this is the fairway, this is the first cut, this is the second cut. There used to not be anything outside of the first cut. Like if your ball was outside of the first cut anywhere out here, it used to be that was out of bounds. We're taking the shot again. So trying to get around the corner sometimes, if you're really trying to bring it around the corner, it'll get caught up out here and it'll be it was out of bounds. So in one-on-one play, this is almost like a sniper shot. I just like lay it up right here and then sniper it right into the cup. And I really like the run with the original pin placement, but I can't remember here. There are several ways you can get really aggressive on this. There is a max overpower hook shot that you can do that'll get you out here and run you forward. And you really have to just go out there and practice that with your clubs and your ball inventory, because like you can try it. Obviously side spin helps, especially if you have a club that doesn't have a lot of curl. So if you're using an extra mile for it, having a ball that's got more side spin will help you get around the corner. I've been caught up more times. I would say half the time I'm caught up right here. Sometimes in the sand, most of the time in the rough. And I've been over to this side quite a few times. You can get into this area pretty easy. And I have been like up in this area on several occasions. You can get aggressive with it. But the smart play is to not get aggressive going around the corner. Play to a spot that you can hit to every single time, and this second shot is still money. All you gotta do is hit it perfect. I mean, it is like a money shot. Like if you can figure out, and it's usually a very little wind adjustment or a little, you know, the bonus adjustment. I'll get aggressive. Why not? Why not? Hole number 3. Hole number 3. The Mojave Greens. JD goes first. And what did JD got for a ball? They got a power 1 ball. Yeah, and that's the deal, is you can bring out, like if you have some of the low power balls, you can bring them out. And like, in my opinion, my opponent is pushing the limit there. Like I would want to learn the blind curl on this, where you could get up there and do and get around the corner and not have to work very hard for it to make that ball like at its best on the other side. They got really close, but that's a beautiful spot for that ball. If they can get to that spot consistently, they're in the money. I think I really need to bring. I'm going to bring a Titan. The King. And let's see what the max that we can get with a power 3 ball, just doing a straight up shot. So I'm going to be 2 rings off. It's 3.8. It's about 2.5 rings. That was 2 rings on the inside, 2 rings on the left. If I can get around the corner there. That's about as far as you can get. And that was on a 2-ring left, and it was right through the middle. I was thinking that a perfect would be like that, like right along the rough line, and I did have some room on the left, but I could have gave myself, I could have pinched up. I think I was 2 rings off right there. I could have pinched up like maybe 1.5 rings. I don't really like to do that. I'd rather hit on the I don't like to pinch myself up, because if you do on those overpower, especially on those overpower shots, if you hit it 2 rings, great, and you only left yourself a 1/2 ring, that's probably not good. Just saying. But my opponent has an excellent shot from there with that ball. So that's a great way to go at it. Instead of bringing out a big ball on this, just laying it up out there. Because if you can get at that adjustment, what I would do is play that hole with just a mortal ball until you get the adjustment down. And once you get the adjustment, then you can start bringing it out. What do we got here? There's max. There's min. I'm at minimum club. Minimum club is 2.1 times 4.5 divided by 2.1. 2.35 rings. .35. Hitting it perfect. Ooh! That was with a 10%, so it probably should have been 10% plus 0.1. Close. But the deal there is that I got lucky on the drive. So you can't always expect to be in that area, but if you bring out, but you can see what you can do with a power 3 ball. With a power 5 ball, you could probably do that without having to do the overpower. That's one of the benefits sometimes of bringing out a bigger ball, is not necessarily that you need it, but you don't have to do any overpower, so you're more consistent. It's a small little lane down there, so bringing out a ball that's got 5 power and more side spin. I think with the APOC, you know, like if you had a mid APOC that's got like 4 top spin, you'd still be fine. You'd probably be more towards max short iron or absolute minimum long iron, but that's still a great area down there. Great area. All right, what do we have in store for us for hole number 4? Hole number 4 is a par 3. Hole number 4 is a par 3. We read ahead. Okay, all right. It does seem like they changed this. This is one of the few holes. There's. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. My mother-in-law had surgery today, and that was the hospital calling to say everything went good. So let's talk about this hole. We just played a hole here not too long ago that I bring out a Kingmaker, because you can get to a certain spot if you bring out a 3-power ball, and if you bring out a 3-power ball here, you can get on the green. Now I swear that they have made this hole shorter than it used to be. But once again, I could be wrong. It seems like you're taking this shot now with like a long iron and not with your wood, and I swear I've taken this with my wood in the past. But there is a shot that you can do from here, but I'm not sure where the new pin placement is. There's 4 ways to go at it. Probably the most common, the most popular we're going to see, and in one-on-one, I would highly recommend, if you're on this hole in one-on-one, that you play this spot right here. And in one-on-one play, I just do a standard 10%. And at max club, and do my pull here, trying to bring it around, whatever it's like 3 or 4 backspin, side spin to bring it around towards the cup and take the shot, and you'll end up right up here at the top, very close all the time. This shot right here, you can get very close to it, but here's where that spot is, and here's where the green's at, and so you're hitting that spot, and then you're trying to just like skirt over the top of this. And this little rough that's up here at the top, it's very easy to hit this and have several things happen, where you end up just going into the sand. Or you get up there and you hit that rough, and then it bounces back and gets in the sand. And there's all kinds of shit that can happen in this bounce. So I usually don't. I've taken this shot before, and it is nice, but it can go south in a hurry. I've never been a fan of hitting off on this direction, because it's not like the way that everything is sloped. And I've seen people hit hole-in-ones from this direction, but for me, it's not sloped right. Like, shit doesn't roll the right way. I've always liked this one better. But in tournaments, I bag all that shit and I bring out a big enough ball so that I can start off on the green and I backspin it. And so it's all about finding that spot and trying to bring it back down with backspin. I think if I'm in long iron that I actually, let's see what I have for clubs here. Let's make sure I have a bag. Let's think about what I want to do. I might be in wood. Man, 70 backspin might not be enough. I think it takes more than that. I think that's the best ball guide I'm going to get for the backspin buck. 3.8. But only 92 versus 100. Let's make sure I have a bag. Let's set one of these bags up with, just in case I am in that club. Not sure I have. That doesn't have any ball guide at all. Let's make sure we take a Grim Reaper in one bag. Got a Goliath, got a Grizzly, got a Grim Reaper. Let's switch this one up for a Saturn. Let's go out and look at that hole and see what we have to do, where we're at in our club. Now we might just be in sniper. If we're in sniper, do I have a Guardian in that bag. I have a Horizon, which has no backspin. I don't think a Hammerhead has any more backspin than a sniper. Cataclysm's got a little teeny bit more. Just a little. Alright, I should be able to get it done with that. With something in there. Not sure what ball to bring, but I'm pretty sure it needs to be at least a 3-power ball in order to get onto the green. I've made this a lot. I've played this with, and the reason, it seemed like I was right at the red line. So like if I had headwind and I had to pull up, like where you'd have to start off in order to get it to work was so close to the edge that if you had pure headwind days, you really needed to bring out a bigger power ball. A bigger than a 3 in order to give yourself some room. But the last time we played it, it seemed like I was on there with a 3-power ball and I had plenty of room. Like there was no way I wouldn't. It almost seemed like I was in long, like they'd shortened the hole up. But the other side of that coin is I played this hole so many times in Tour 7 that I might be thinking of playing it from the Pro Tees. And from the Ricky Tees, we always played it with a long iron. And from the Pro Tees, you always play it with a wood. That's probably the deal. You can see what my opponent is going for. Now, I will say that the new pin placement is a little more conducive for it, because the old pin placement, it was a lot closer to the front. And I don't think the backspin shot's going to work because it's so far in the back that it might work better to just try and run it up to it. It might be better to do what my opponent's doing and try and get up there. That's fractional. Fractional. Alright, I am in Grizzly and I got a power 3 ball and you can see where my red line's at. And there's max. There's min. There's mid. Let's bring out a navigator. There's max. There's min. There's mid. And I'm at like 3/4 club. we'll have to check it out. I want to see what's available down there. My opponent's like, dude, you timed out. It's like, you need to be cognizant when people are practicing. If they're out there practicing and you're like, dude, are they timing out? Watch what they're doing, because they're probably, if they're smart, they're just out there practicing. They're just like, hey, what's the setup on that? And if they record, if they're really smart, they record their own video, and then they can go back and watch the video on it and see what they said, what they tried, or like where the red lines were and what the deal was. I'm not sure I like the shot from here. There is a rough bump, but I'd have to bring out something other. I'd have to bring out the Goliath. Grizzly. 1.1 times 4.4 divided by 0.9. 5.4 rings. There's 5.5. Hitting it perfect. I don't know if I like that. The new pin placement is in such a spot that I think really the only way to, I think, as much as I don't like that, I really think that where the old pin placement was like down in this area. It was more towards the bottom, and you could bring it down up the hill. So if you started off up here on the green and you did max backspin, it would bring it, it would come down the hill and it would flow your tail out and you could go right to the cup. But with the pin placement being farther back, where the hill's not involved and you have to woe it up at the cup, that it really might be the best. Like if we're really trying to go for hole-in-one, the best way is to probably go like my opponent did. Now what I do like about this shot is that when the cup was close, you had to keep the first bounce and the second bounce fairly tight in order for it to woe up once it got up to the cup. So you always risked getting caught up in the rough. But because the pin placement's farther back, we can stretch this second one out and we should be able to get past this area. I think we're always going to have the possibility that we get a scoot here where we're trying to come from a lower area to a higher area, and it comes up, and when it hits right here, instead of transferring the energy into a bounce, it just slides across the ground. So you'd probably want to get it out far enough that you could make sure that you get a bounce, so that it'll bounce over this little hill and then engage the green and run. Right. That pin placement's a little different. You got to think about it just a little bit differently. All right, I love this hole. I was talking to Dale Appleby the other day, and this is a hole that we were talking about that I've played a billion times with a freaking Hornet, or with a Guardian and a Marlin, an extra mile, a Guardian and a Marlin, and it could be like from mid-levels, level 4 extra mile, level 4 or 5 Guardian, and it's just bam bam, you get up there. And but in tournament play you can bring out a bigger ball than a Marlin. It's not necessarily, I'm never really kind of going for more distance in here. Like with a Marlin or the power 3 ball, I'm getting about the same distance. It's that on the second shot, instead of starting back here with a power 0 ball, you're starting up here with a power 3 ball, and you can actually get a run at it. Whereas here, it's just a blind curl shot. But on the drive, you're pretty much doing the same deal. Let's go. Let's go. We'll go practice at once. We'll see if we can get anything. And I have no idea what the shot is to the cup. I've played this hole 1,000 times, and I don't know, like, on the shot to the... I've never really, like, other than in tournament play, I never really have a shot at this cup. It's just a blind curl shot. It's a max overpower blind curl shot with a Guardian. So your odds of... If it gets down into the deal, I've made it a few times, but, like, it's total luck. I have shot that shot enough that I know the area to get it through. The mistake that I see most people make on this hole is they try and get a bunch of shit on this hole, and the mass majority of the time they end up either in the rough, in the sand, or in the fairway in a bad spot where the trees are in your way. And you went through all that work. And now my opponent here is like one of the ones that actually miraculously made it. Miracle. It's a miracle. Let's bring out a tight. The king. The king of balls. And now you can start off on the other side. If I had it on 10%, that's like 4.4, so I'm a ring into power. If you have a power 0 ball there, you cannot start on the other side. The trees, even if the trees are in your way, they're not really in your way because you're going to curl it around them. But the deal is it does hamper your setup, so you can't follow your ball guide all the way to the cup. And so it's easy. You just line your ball guide up so it's towards the cup, and then you just curl it around the trees. So it's not a big deal. But if you want to run like my opponent's getting, where they can actually look at the ball guide all the way to the cup, then you have to not be behind the trees. Turn on the old test pattern, screw my opponent up. There we go. You do not, I repeat, you do not want to get caught up on the top and that, like, just barely dribble onto this green in the front because it's on a shelf and you can't get to the cup. Now, with the new pin placement, you may be able to, but with the old pin placement, you couldn't get to the cup. It was bad. It was really bad. I'm going to pull back from the red line a little. I'm going to put my white ring right on the transition. .7, and I can get right down on them. I'm going to just do, should be 4.1. I'm going to just do the, there's 4. Just going to do the 4. Isn't it perfect? Just a bit outside. Underpulled it. Underpulled it. It felt like it was like way uphill from where I was at. It felt like I should have taken some wind off, and that's why I took that 0.1 off. But I probably should have pulled it like 20%. Into hole. All right. Yeah, if you come to this hole with a power 1 or a power 2 ball, or even if you're going up against a really big headwind there and you don't want to start off on the other side with a power 3 ball, if you bounce off that island, it just takes a couple topspin. What you don't want to do on that hole is draw a line from where the pin is, and the pin's up in the front now, but even with the old pin placement, to these trees, you do not want to be on that side of this line. And it's like I said, you're going to, the shot is set up where if you were over here, you're going to have to curl it around the trees. So you're going to have to bring it around. But your ball guide's going to get screwed up by these trees, and you won't be able to get a look at it on the other side. You'll have to take it blind. All you need to do is just lay up out in this area. Like my opponent and I were trying to get up into this area, but we were starting on this side so we could bring it around with max curl and a little bit of backspin and really kind of stick it to the course and get right in front of where you can hit it from this island. It's super easy. It doesn't seem like it, but it's super easy to get caught up in this rough. So it's better to just be right there and not try and get a lot if you're bouncing off. That way you're not behind the trees. I see people all the time come on this hole and they hit it from here and they hit it all the way to the other side and it's like, yeah, I hit it far. Yeah, you hit it too freaking far. Alright, hole number 6. Hole number 6. What do we have in store for us? Alright. Now, this is one of the few par 4s that I've actually got a hole-in-one on. And for the longest time when this hole first came out, I hit it through the trees. And I had about maybe a 25% chance that I would actually make it over to the green side, but I was making about 50% of the rough bumps, or the rough shots. So it was actually a pretty good deal. And just because you get over to the other side, if you're in the wrong spot, it could still be difficult, even if you're on the green, if you're down low. So I'm not sure where the new pin placement is. My buddy Dale Appleby likes to hit it right out into this area right here, and then you have this shot, and it's not a bad chip shot, but it is from distance. I want to try and get on in one, and you can use this island to do it. So when you're on this island, if you're drawing a line from the tee box to the landing zone going straight out, you're going off in that direction. All right, so let's keep that in mind. So we're going off and we're trying to target land here, and so we're going off in this direction. And we need to go in this direction. So we're coming like this. So we need to cover this angle. So this is one of those things where if we're drawing the line from where the tee box is and we get out here to the sand and we draw our arc, here we're in the sand. But when we apply curl onto the shot, we're not going to be in the sand anymore. We're going to hit the rough. There's a rough bump, a second bounce rough bump that you can do here, and if you hit it right, it'll just bleed onto the green and then roll down towards the cup, at least for the old pin placement. I'm not sure where the new pin placement is. So that's the shot. So the top spin, I'm not sure what kind of spin, whether it's backspin, top spin, or what it takes, but the ball guide is, when I set the shot up, is going to be in the sand. And then I'm going to pull over, and I put these colored ticks on here. You don't need to do it with max curl. It's going to be probably somewhere in the midline or towards the black line, or somewhere in between here, somewhere in this area of curl, in order to swing this, to clip that rough and then bleed out. That's the goal. That is the goal. But if you have a really long hitting, like you've got a club that's got lots of topspin, there is several lanes that you can try and go through on these trees to try and get to the other side. There is. And I will say that I have been caught up behind the trees several times, but that's an exception rather than the rule. Typically you will make it through the trees if you adjust the wind rate. And we need to take out, I think I can just do this with an extra mile and a Titan. I think so. I think so. It might be an APOC might work better just because it's got more raw distance, but let's see if we can get it done with an extra mile. Part of the reason why I use an extra mile is because I really like setting up curl shots where I'm either using, you use a little bit of curl on every drive shot. In my opinion, we pretty much use a little bit of curl on every drive shot. But when you're starting to get into half and max, I really would just rather use max. Just set the shot up so that I have a max curl shot. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it does. Cheese goes first. 1.1 times whatever the wind is divided by 1.5. See if my opponent can get it right. Where is the new pin? Man, I think they have way too much. There you go. Let me put some backspin on it. get back a little. Something. I guess you can use a low power ball. That will work. Right at the red line. 2 rings off. I'm at the +6 mark, 2 rings off. I got on two backspin. 2 backspin and 2 and a sliver. 2.6, 1.9 rings. Take the shot. Okay, there's max curl. Isn't it perfect? Max curl might be too much. I think that'll be a really sucky putt. So I think where I came in right there was actually pretty good. And the trees were blocking my shot. I'll have to go back and watch that and see if I can catch anything. It looked like the trees were blocking my entry. But I might be able to put like 1.5 backspin on that in that same shot setup. 2 rings off, max curl. I think it was 2 and a sliver, so I could put on like 2.5. Excuse me. I think I said 1.5 and I meant 2.5. That is a sucky putt. Wouldn't want to have to take that putt too many times. Maybe 1.5 backspin. All right. Got a shot at it. We at least got a game plan on like what the deal is. But with the 3 power ball, I think against the headwind, I had some room and I pulled back quite a bit. So it really wouldn't matter what the wind was like. We'd be able to work the wind out. And a 2 side spin ball works, I think, good there. I think if I brought out a 3 side spin ball, I'd have to move it over more to the left, or I'd have to use not max curl. All right. Hole number 7. What is hole number 7? All right. Now I will swear, in one-on-one, this has done me proud. Okay, I don't know, like it always seems like it plays in one-on-one. If I come out to this hole and I get on this hole and I see that the wind in a shootout is headwind, I get really excited because I always play a 50% when it's on headwind. And when it's tailwind, it usually isn't that bad. It's like not that big of a deal. It's like maybe 10%. And then if it's sidewind, it can go, like to 10 or 0. But if it's like from this direction, it's still a good 25, 30%. But headwind seems to like kill this with water and sand and an island and a bounce over and a bunch of shit. It just always seems like it kills it. You do not. There is a shelf right here. You do not want to be anywhere over on this side of the shelf, and you do not want to be down here at the bottom. Like all of this shit over here, this side right here, I really don't think it matters what tee you play from. This side over here is nothing but spectators. They're standing out here on the fairway because we don't play that. We play the green. Nobody plays to the left. Nobody. And not only is there just no way to get up like to the green, but you wouldn't want to get to the green. Because you can't get from the green, the lower part of the tier here, to the upper part of the tier over this shelf. So there's a lot of times on this hole like, hey, just like hanging out up here at the top and fucking putt it in. You don't even want to get close. So let's not get close. Let's go practice it. Let's see which way the wind's blowing. I think you can just play it with a shit. You can probably play it with Marlin. There's some trees over there on the right hand side, the little island we're bouncing over. There's several ways that we can go with this. We can bounce off the island, which is my preferred way, but there is a rough bump that you can do. The rough bump is really sketchy because if you get your adjustment wrong and you hit a little forward in the rough, it roughs out a little fast, and shit that goes fast on this green falls off that shelf, and shit that falls off the shelf goes to the lower part of the green, and you can't make the putt. And so it can be a risky deal. And where did they put? Oh, they put it right on the fucking. I mean, like, that is just not fair. That is almost not fair. Okay, there's Max clubbing. I look right at Max with a 3 power ball. I just want to see if I can get it there. I can get it down that hill, but you can see how much it wants to go. Like, once it hits that hill, it wants to roll. It's like it ain't fucking stopping. It ain't stopping for no one. Max and 2. Almost max and 2. And I think Max Goliath is like 1.8, 1.7 per ring, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think it's 1.8. And that's in a sketchy spot too. Like, I'm just not sure I would go for this. Okay, 2 and 7. .5, 2.13. Isn't it perfect? We got shit going on. This Gordon. All right. Phone calls, look at that. Interrupting the scouting report. What is the deal? We're getting some good information here today too. This is the kind of information that you can only get here. That's why you all watch. Thank you. Thank you for being subscribers. All right. I'm really curious to see like some of the new stuff. Like, typically in one-on-one play, I play to in between these two shadows. And if you're in between, if you're right out here, you can hit between these trees, or you can put max curl on it and hit around this tree. I see more people fail on this hole because they forget that this tree's here and they go for the shot and they put curl on it and they tag the tree. They set it up to try and go straight out, and then they end up tagging the tree. Or they tag these trees, they forget they're there. They put curl on the shot. If you're out in this area, typically I will try and curl it around the trees. I'll use this as my peninsula and aim straight at it and then try and curl it around to just bring it up. Typically, this is a get your birdie and move along hole, because this is a hole that more people will epic fail on than will get the eagle. So, like, just getting the birdie here is, that is that's a woohoo. It's not a woohoo, it's just a woohoo. But you can get up on this island over here. And if you're in this spot over here, you're in definitely a good area. You got several options depending on where the pin's at. Now, from hitting from over here, trying to, if you're just laying it up right here, trying to go at it, I've had issues trying to do the rough bump. There's a rough bump that you can do that's on this side, and I've had issues with this rough bump where it's either you always need to push in a half a ring, or I've had issues down in here where it's gone really, really good for me, and then I've hit a perfect and it's gone really, really bad for me. So we'll just have to see where the pin is, and we'll just go look at it. We'll go look at it. There's a lot of different ways that you can play this hole. I think most people who are being aggressive on it, if you're really trying to go for it, you either have to be way forward on the left-hand side and to the right. You have to make it around the bend, or you need to hit it straight forward, which is on the right side coming in at it. I really think the best way to go at it, if you really want a good look at it, is to go on the right. The deal is you have to look at these older holes with a different eye. We have to check it out with some different balls and see like what the deal is. Like, where would that put us? I mean, you can see how far they can get with a 1 power ball. So with a topspin boost ball, I think you could easily get onto that little island. I'm not even sure it would take a 5 power topspin boost ball. Why did you just take the shot, dude? Why didn't you practice? Fuck. Hit to the spot that you want, dude. Don't just drive it up onto the green. Look to make sure you can drive it onto the green, just so you know you can recover from those areas. Shit, I mean, what you can get done with a power 3 ball here. See, you can almost make it over with a power 3 ball. I'm just wondering if we brought out a power 5 ball that had some topspin boost. Yeah, I see what it has. I mean, you can see where my second bounce is going to hit out there. Shit, my second bounce is going to hit in that fairway. I mean, I'd probably roll off the front. I've got so much topspin on there. If I wanted to just shoot the shot over, and I've had to pull back from my red line here, and then just put curl on it and just like try and do the same thing here where I'm trying to bring my tip is right here, and I'm trying to follow my arc around, and over here where I want to hit, I'm actually in the fairway running forward. You don't have to take that shot, dude. You don't have to. Yeah. Why don't you just hit to the spot that you really want to practice from? That's what you should do. That way you can practice your numbers from that spot. You know you can recover. And with a little bit of luck. Nobody wants to practice. Everybody wants to practice, but nobody wants to really practice. I really think if we pull back, we run all the topspin. And pull back to the plus 20 mark. And plus 19, 2-4. That'll hit the rough right on the first bounce. couldn't hit that shot perfect. I see, dude, you just wasted around there. Yeah, like we're practicing. Like, why are y'all excited and surprised? Now I have to take this shot instead of being able to just lay it up to where I'd really like to hit from and see what it looks like. Three. That's 3. Give it the old college try. All right, that was the old college try. That was. All right, what do we have in store for us for hole number 9? There are a lot of different ways to go at that hole. What I really didn't like about that shot, there are some things I liked about it. Number 1, I could pull back from the red line to give myself room so that I could work out wind. And I think from the angle going this way, that trying to make up this difference with that much topspin, that I could land here, but I'm going to end up running off down here on the end. Like, I'll have to adjust that shot a little bit. I really would have liked to have at least hit the fairway here, so I could have seen if my launch was enough to get me over to that side. That would have been really nice information to have. Really, really nice information. But there might be a way to get over there without having to use a lot of overpower. You can bring out a power 3 ball on days when we don't have headwind. You might be able to do it with a bigger power ball on days that we have headwind, but you can do an overpower shot trying to do a rough bump off of this and just bleed right out into this area. You'll have a great shot out of it. Great shot. Great shot. And that probably might be the easier way to go. We'll have to see as the week goes on. Practice hole number 9. What? I know what hole number 9 is. All right. Now, this is the elusive shot, and I've only been able to take this shot maybe like once every time we've ever played these holes in a tournament. But if you're in this zone where you're between those trees and that tree coming through right here, there is a spot right here that you can do a dunk. And I think it's either a long iron. I think from here it's actually a long iron shot. There is a dunk you can do with a Guardian from out here. I'll have to see where they put the pin, because I'm not sure if the dunk is... The deal is the pin placement now. What's weird about this green is it goes like this. And it comes around, does this little loop. Well, where it does this is a crotch area. And so it projects out onto the course. And it's got this little freaking mound, and everything's rolling like this really hard. And then it kind of bowls up. And then this is rolling back towards the green, and this is the pivot area. So if you try and do, in the old pin placement, it was like right about there. And so if you tried to do a dunk and you missed it, the first bounce it hit here, and the second bounce it hit up on the back, and if it got any kind of suck back towards the cup, it was downhill and it would roll back towards the green, or you'd be right here on the fringe. And if you could get this zone, you had that. But I'm not so sure that they haven't moved it farther away where we can't do the dunk. So I have no idea what the deal is. I'm just going to bring out a Titan. Depending on which way the wind's blowing, you can get over. I would personally rather be in the rough, in between. Like there's an area, like you can, when you're doing your drive shot. So in one-on-one play, I always aim for right here. And the way I do it is I bring out my QB or my rock, whichever you have in your bag, and I set it up wherever it's at its red line. Its red line's right here, and I set it up 3 rings of separation away from this rough. So I'm facing out in this direction. I work the wind out. If it's headwind, then I'll have to put a little bit of overpower on it just to compensate for it. But I usually try not to put on too much. And do a max curl shot, and it ends up somewhere out in this zone. So from that zone to get to the green, it is a hump. to get up there, especially with a low power ball. Like your red line will be like in this area, and you got to run it up there with topspin. It's all kinds of crazy. So it's good to have a bigger hitting club in your bag if you're going to lay it up, or a bigger ball so that you can get up here and get around. But you really don't have a super good look at it because of these trees. You got to go around them. I would rather be in the rough right here or up here than here, because with a Nirvana, number one, it kind of clears you from the trees a little, but with a Nirvana you can easily recover from up here. That's my motto. I had enough practice tokens to make it through the whole thing. I put that thing on and I actually won some. Holy crap. I actually won 3. Usually I win like I did it one time, and on the very first time I didn't win anything. On a 6-shooter. Shit, only Playdemic could screw that stuff up. If I can get an opponent. Have no idea what the second shot should be, and I will tell you, I really have no idea what the second shot should be, and I don't know that I did in any other tournaments, because to try and get to the spot where you can actually go for Albie is so slim. I got a power 5 ball with this wind. They should easily be able to get, they need to be a little more to the right and the wind, because I think if they do max curl here, and they're not doing max curl, but they hit it 7,000 rings great to the left, and it still made it over. It's not a bad spot, other than the one tree in the way, but I think there's a lane. Let's see if you can do it with a power 3. No, I don't think so. I just don't think there is a way. Maybe. 3-3. There's 4. And I hit it 7,000 rings great on the inside. I'm going to hit the rough. I figured I would clip the rough right there. Not against that headwind. Even if I went to the right where the fairway's a little deeper, I think I would have just missed it. Just missed it. What we can do is chip it to where my opponent's at. I think from where my opponent is, that they do have, because the pin's moved off. The pin used to be kind of like where they're right here in this area, and so this tree was in the way, and it was a little bit closer to that crotch area, so all of this is falling down. No dice. You can see what I'm talking about with that little hill there. On the other side of that is the big sand shit. So you can easily recover from that area. Easily. But where I'd really like to get is right here. And just like get over to the other side. Now I think I have a dunk shot from here. And because my opponent is not going to give me a break, they're going to just practice it out. They're not practicing, they're out playing, and they blew a practice token. Wow, you didn't win anything. I have no idea where I'm at in my club. Saturn. There's minimum. Guardian. There's max. It's 1.5. I'm right at mid club. It's like 1.3 at mid. So times 3.9 divided by 1.3. It's 3.33 rings. 3.33 rings. There's 3.33. Isn't it perfect? Not even close. I pushed way off. And that was with a 10% adjustment, so I either overpulled it. I can't remember which way the wind was blowing there. That hit on the left. And the wind was blowing, so I did overpull it. Big time. Big time. All right, that was a scouting report of the new pin placement. So I think that hole number 9 is still like get your eagle. This is a difficult hole to eagle on, but I will tell you that from this area, I have been in this area right here. I can't even tell you how many times. Like if we played this hole, I've been in this area right here in the rough more times than I've been not in that area. And that it's super easy with a Nirvana to recover. And the new pin placement's even easier because you can't get a run at the cup before. You had to really be heroic, and now you don't have to. It's a little bit, they pushed it back so it's more in the open. And the rough bump is rough. You can see if you miss the rough bump, it's so much farther back that you don't stick on the green, you end up in the rough. So the dunk is probably out. Probably just try and get into this area right here so that you're taking that with a Grizzly or a Saturn, or you're taking that shot with something that you can get a run at it. But that's still, I still think that hole right there, just like getting your eagle and moving on, you're going to beat a lot. There's going to be more people who don't get an eagle than get an Albie. There's 2 of those holes. This is the same thing. There's going to be more people that get birdie than get the eagle. So just coming out here and getting your birdie is not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. If you can pick one up, more the merrier. Hole number 7. Got a great, I don't know. That pin placement's tough because it's in that shit hill. Now they have redesigned that hill a little bit, and it's got a little tier thing, but you definitely, I wouldn't want to have to take the putt from the bottom. That pin placement's pretty tough. It might, I don't know. I'm going to have to work that hole and play that hole a few times to see what I want to do. And see if that rough bump will pan out. Maybe. Hole number 6. Oh, we got a great opportunity to pick up an eagle there. We got a great opportunity for Albie there. And we have a great opportunity for hole in one. And I think the one, I think as much as I don't want to do it, I think the bouncing over is probably the way to go. Is that? Ah, I was thinking the wrong holes. Is this the hole? No. And it's hole number 5. Is that a par 5? We still do have a great opportunity for Albie here if we can get into the right spot. If you can get up one level farther, you can really get your ball guide to work where the new pin is, and you can get a look at it. But this hole right here, we definitely have an opportunity for Albie. Definitely. Kmart sucks. Good opportunity for a rough bump hole in one on that hole. So we have a lot of opportunities. I think the last 2 holes are going to be the problem ones, but the other 7 holes are definitely makeable. All right, there you have it. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a great time this week. Have good luck. Good 4th of July next weekend. Everybody be safe, and I will catch you on the next one.